right. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to Nick. Happy birthday. Welcome to the Roundtable on Revolutionary Blackout Network. It is so good to see all of you here on this Thursday evening. Just let you guys know the Revolutionary Blackout Network Roundtable is every single last Thursday of the month. So good to have all of you here. Also, if you guys have not already, go ahead and give a like to the stream. We appreciate it very much. If you guys would like to join our mailing list, you can also join us at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com so you can get those email notifications whenever we go live, upload clips. Also, if you guys would like to give us any stories or any encouraging words, you guys can go to revolutionaryblackout@outlook.com. Nick, Sabby, so good to see you both.
What's popping? What a great birthday on my roundtable with my brothers and sisters at RBN. What's popping, Sabby?
All right. Sabby, you're muted.
Happy birthday, Nick. 1 year older.
Yeah,
do you
34.
feel any different?
I feel wiser. You know what I mean? Always getting wiser every year. That should be the goal. So yeah, it's great to make it in a year. My birthday is always overshadowed by my nieces. It was like 3 days away from mine. So my birthday is really hers. I always tell everyone to get her all the presents and all that stuff. So I'm going to go out to dinner with my cousins here soon. So it's always fun. But it's great to be on here live with you guys on my birthday as well. Make sure you guys subscribe for my birthday. I appreciate that.
Yep, definitely. All right, everybody. So while we're at it, we're just going to get right into it. So we have some guests that are going to be joining us right now. So I want to make sure that we are very respectful of their time. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring them all in. And then we'll also be also giving the bios for each and every person that is on here. So we're going to bring all of our guests in. But what are we talking about this evening? We're going to be talking to Taxpayers Against Genocide. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be interviewing them and talking about the actions that they're doing against our elected officials that are promoting and facilitating a genocide. So we're going to be getting into that right now. So we're going to bring all of our guests in. So good to have all of you joining us today. All right. And so first off, we have Judith Meerkinson is a longtime human rights activist. She's a president of the Comfort Women Justice Coalition and a member of the National Lawyers Guild. We also have Anna Marie Stenberg, who has been a community organizer and activist for peace and social and environmental justice since the 1970s, and a mother of three and a grandmother. And she's been in Mendocino coast of California for the last 40 years. You have Tarek. Is a Nana? Sorry.
Nana, yeah.
A Palestinian American working in child nutrition and lives in Santa Rosa, has been active in the community for social justice, labor rights, immigration, housing, justice, and tenants' rights, and currently one of the core organizers in the Sonoma County for Palestine, which came together in response to the genocide. We have Maria Baccarat, who is Lebanese Palestinian anti-war activist, sociologist of law and society, and public policy expert specializing in equity from UC Berkeley. And then we have Seth Donnelly, who is a resident of Sonoma County, worked as a Bay Area public high school teacher for many years, and is a human rights advocate and has been active with the Haiti Coal Action Committee since 2004. Welcome to T.A.G. Good to see you guys. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The true
Thank you, James. Right on.
I don't know if they would like this to hear this from me, but these are the true patriots of this country. You guys understand that?
Yes.
You guys understand that holding your government accountable to their vows, pushing back on your government's criminal behavior is the height of patriotism. There is nothing more cowardly than the Zionist Americans who apologize and shield for the most corrupt people in the world, who commit genocide. When to hold the criminals in your government accountable is patriotism. Not that people say, oh, we can't do anything about Zion. We can't do. No, this is what it looks like. Holding the rich accountable. This is what and I'm very excited to hear about your guys' actions because I heard about it quite a few times. But James, I know you got a question. I'll let you start first. I just want to say, like, this is true action, true patriotic action, and I think there is some sort of value. You know, I mean, I've been talking to my brother Eddie Liger and all that. I think there is some sort of value for us to retake that. You know, I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot. Why are we allowing the Zionist traitors to call themselves patriots as they send money to terrorists in Israel, as they refuse the idea of having healthcare and providing healthcare for their neighbors? Thomas Massey and a bunch of libertarians right now making the argument that, it's slavery, we provide healthcare. How is that patriotic? You know what I mean? But that's a warm up. That's a warm up rant. I'm gonna say that for another day. Because how is it patriotic if you're okay with allowing your neighbor to die? You know what I mean? Just because they can't afford healthcare. And I understand what the argument it makes. We need to receive that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's something I've been thinking about for a while. That's my intro, James. Sabby, I'll pass it to you guys.
Yeah, thank you so very much. So one of the things I really would like to get is a start just for everybody to get just a couple of words as to what is the how did this organization start, and what did prompted your actions to create this organization, Taxpayers Against Genocide? Any one of you want to start or begin with that?
Seth, you should probably start him, or Maria, you were both.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in real quick. So thank you all so much for having us, and happy birthday, Nick. It's really an honor to be with you all. We are from Sonoma, from North Bay in California, so many different counties up here north of San Francisco. And we have all been organizing in our communities all year. We've been organizing because we're people of conscience, because we are Arabs or Palestinians in particular, or because we are Jewish. We are all have been working together in our own communities against genocide, holding peaceful protests, petitioning city councils for ceasefire resolutions, going to anyone in positions of authority in this country who have the power to halt the weapons to Israel that facilitate the genocide in Gaza, that make it possible, because we know that the U.S. provides the vast majority of weapons to Israel that have made this genocide possible. So we've also come together in our communities and reached out to our congressional representatives, our senators, and our Congress people, and we have called them. Some of us have called them on a daily basis for the last 16 months. Some of us have had meetings with them, and what brought us all together was hosting actions together and thinking, towards the end of summer, we have to do something else. It's not working. There has to be some connection between us as taxpayers who work for a living in this country and pay our taxes, and that those taxes go to weapons sales that slaughter men, women, and children. There has to be some connection for us to make a difference and to be able to take action together. And so we did the research and started looking at how our tax dollars facilitated this genocide. And we found that it was the allocation of our tax dollars in specific legislation that passed in 2024. And so we came together and built TAG, Taxpayers Against Genocide.
And to add on to that, what Maria's saying, all these different counties up here, there's 10 counties. So the organizing started across 10 different counties. And we quickly developed a class of hundreds of people that were all willing to sue over how our tax dollars were being used. And then it spread throughout the Bay Area, and all 18 counties that make up this federal court district of Northern California are now engaged. And we have nearly 2,000 people as part of the class that are suing. With what we call class representatives, people in each county that are representing the actual plaintiffs on record. So you'll hear from folks in this call today about this meeting today about that. But when we did the research, we went up against the conventional wisdom, says you can never sue your congressperson because they have immunity. And what we realized is that they don't. They don't have absolute latitude to use our tax dollars any which way. There's a very famous case out of 1968. The Supreme Court still stands as a precedent where taxpayers sued over their federal tax dollars being used for private religious schooling, and they won. And against officials using those tax dollars in that manner. And the case establishes the precedent that our tax dollars can't be used unconstitutionally. And so if they can't be used for private religious schooling, they certainly can't be used to facilitate and fund genocide. The U.S. is obligated per Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution to follow treaties it's ratified, and it has ratified the Genocide Convention. There's a host of federal laws that it's violating as well and sending that military aid. And so when our congresspersons voted on April 20th to re-up $26.38 billion, which happened all across the country, and I'm sure many of your viewers right now, your Congress folks did the same vote, they don't have immunity to take our hard-earned tax dollars and send that and transform that into the 2,000-pound bombs that are exterminating the people of Palestine. So we said enough's enough, and we're bringing them to court.
And what's really amazing about this, it happened so fast because there are so many people throughout the country. We're connected to 40 different states now that feel the same way we do. We have to do everything we can as people to stop it because we're the only ones that are going to be able to stop it. And we should have control over our Congress people and our government doing on the books. It's illegal for them to be sending our tax dollars for genocide. It's illegal. And they're doing it anyway because they think they're immune, and they're not.
Well, I think people, the Genocide Convention and the subsequent laws, there are subsequent laws that are on, like the Genocide Accountability Law of 2007 and 2009. The Genocide Convention says that governments are absolutely obligated by law to stop genocide, not just to stop genocide that they're involved in, but to stop genocide that other people are involved in, not just to stop an ongoing genocide, but to stop one that is going to happen, that they know is going to happen. Ironically, it was signed, they were the first ones to sort of advocate for it in 1948, but the US didn't pass it into law until 1989, when Joe Biden introduced it into the Congress and Ronald Reagan, ironically, again, signed it. But since then, they're always talking about it, pontificating about it, but they won't follow their own rules. And certain treaties, human rights treaties and international law, they oversee domestic law, supposedly, and yet they're not paying any attention. So that's why it's absolutely imperative for us both to educate people about the Genocide Convention and to use it and to hold people accountable. I mean, what does it mean when you're paying taxes and your taxes are just used to kill people? That's ridiculous. That's inhumane, and it's genocidal.
Tarek.
Thank you very much for that. One of the things that I actually wanted to talk about, especially because a lot of people have been speaking about, especially on social media, in regards to the money that has been going to Israel, especially. I just want to share this as well while I have it here. This is actually out of the Council of Foreign Relations. It talks about Israel is the largest cumulative recipient of U.S. aid. There's total aid from fiscal years of 1946 to 2024. That's in 2022 dollars as far as inflation goes. So Israel has passed over $300 billion in cumulative recipient U.S. aid. And if you look at the largest amount of it, is $228 billion in military aid and then $80 billion in economic aid. And so you think about what Israel has. For instance, they have things like universal health care. Meanwhile, we are fighting for
free education.
Oh, and education. Thank you very much.
That we're paying for.
Yes. It's a loop. AIPAC, I'd like to see the same chart on how much money AIPAC gives to our elected officials. And it's a horrendous loop. The money just keeps going around and around like that. And it starts with our tax dollars.
Mm-hmm. Nick, Sabby, do you have any questions that you guys wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I was going to ask, since you guys are on the West Coast, I'm not sure if you've spoken to them already, but I'm curious, has there been any contact with Jill Stein or Shama Sawant? Because this is something they've been trying to do, is organize to stop the genocide on the ground outside of electoral politics. They have an event that's coming up in February in Seattle to organize against this and also increase the minimum wage. I believe Chris Hedges is also going to be present at that event. Has there been any reach out towards both of them?
Yes.
That'd be good for Tarek. Tarek's in Green. Yeah.
We've got the whole, Tarek can address this, but the whole Green Party of California has endorsed our action. And they're on board with us, local Green parties and California Green Party. And Tarek is the person that made the connection. Tarek, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that we have made that contact with Jill Stein and her campaign, but I've been involved in the Green Party of California and the GPUS since 2012-ish, and I know they're very supportive of what we're doing. They're very thankful, and we've, people from the Green Party reached out to me and said, "How can we help you?" Stuff like that.
Awesome. I'll pass it to back to you, Jaybe.
Okay, just a question. Have you heard any promising or positive feedback from anybody in either of the two major parties, the Democrat or Republican Party? I know.
That's a stupid question.
I had to ask.
The defendants. We can give a shout out, because part of our argument is the accountability of individuals in a time of genocide, right? And so there were Democrats in the Bay Area that voted against this, like Barbara Lee.
She's our hero.
Barbara Lee and several others. But for the most part, I'm sure, as you guys know as much, if not better than us, the Democratic Party has been lockstep behind this genocide, and just like other forms of plunder and genocide throughout the world, like lockstep behind the horrible coup and occupation that's been happening in Haiti for the last 20 years, and the same bipartisan policy of imperialism towards the Congo, So we're really beyond both parties at this point. We're trying to just say, whoever you are, whether you're Democrat or Republican, we're going to hold you accountable.
Yeah, exactly. It's the people standing up. And that's the only thing that we can do effectively. And we're joining together with people like-minded in all different kinds of organizations. If you look at the endorsers of our action already, there's such a broad spectrum. It's environmental, it's the Green Party, it's labor, it's community organizations. I think there's 62 right now. And remember, we've only been around a few months in this capacity. So it really is growing, James. And I don't blame you for asking the question, but we gave up a long time ago on the Republicans and the Democrats. We only go towards somebody that stands up for justice. And it doesn't matter what party. We don't look at what party, but we look at somebody that's taking a personal action and standing up for justice. And Barbara Lee is one of those people. I know she's in the Democratic Party, but she definitely is one of those people.
Have you guys threats?
Go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry, James. Go ahead, James, if you want to.
No, go ahead, please.
I just had a side question. I'm wondering the opposition that you guys face or possibly face. This is what I've been raising awareness of, and I think everyone should be cognizant of. The more effective that anti-genocide protests become, the weaker that Israel becomes the more we're going to see just outright unapologetic authoritarianism take place in this country. So I'll just wonder if any of you guys have thoughts on this, and you guys can share your experience regarding what pushback you guys got, because I can only imagine the ADL went after me and called me a anti-Semitic person just for sharing the news. So I can only imagine the opposition you guys have. I'm gonna read this headline, and this is the sign of thing comes. I would love to have, if you guys have any comments, if any. President Donald Trump takes forceful and unprecedented steps to combat anti-Semitism. And this is exactly what we warned people about. It's very depressing to know that in the United States of America, no one in the two-party duopoly actually really cares about free speech. They just use it as a cudgel to attack the other side when they're not in power. So do anyone have any comments? I'll pass it to the panel. Anyone? Go ahead, Maria. You can start. You got, and then we can go to Tarek next after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is an important issue to raise. We should all be aware of what's coming down right now, and also be aware of the reality that under the Biden administration as well, there was a lot of bipartisan support for legislation that constrained free speech on Palestine, on genocide, on the discussions of genocide and advocacy. There have been all over California and all over the country, especially regarding student peaceful protests, and the beautiful work that hundreds of students and thousands of students have been doing this last year to draw attention to the genocide in Palestine and oppose it. On their campuses, there have been extraordinary civil rights violations on these campuses, from Texas to California to New York to Colombia. And we're seeing repression and tamp down across the board, and we have all year. So yeah, this new administration will also do that. We expect that, But one of the ingenious things about our suit, not only is it applicable for use across the country and other jurisdictions, but it's not really a political argument. Our argument is legal. So Trump may have political comments and politically charged executive orders, et cetera, but our argument is legal. Our argument is fairly simple, and it's rooted in the fact that genocide is illegal, and we are being made complicit in this genocide, and we cannot be made complicit in the genocide. And for some of us, we cannot be made complicit under law for the genocide of our own people, for Arabs, Lebanese, Palestinians, and that's not a political issue. These are legal issues that are national legal issues.
Well said. And we see how the Zionists, I know Tarek wanted to respond as well, but we see how the Zionists respond to legal institutions. They crafted a sanctions package against the International Court of Justice. But Tarek, I know you want to chime in. Feel free to chime in. And I think Anna and James, we get you back in. I think Anna wanted to go chime in as well. Go ahead, Tarek.
About that quote that you showed, I'm convinced, I'm very sure that the actions of the Israeli army, government, whatever that, and the support it got from the U.S. is actually making it more dangerous for Jews, more anti-Semitic than we are, than what they say we are. In this past almost year and a half, we've been organizing a lot. We've met so many wonderful people, so many dedicated people. A big portion of them have been Jews, and I can tell many of them got their stance, their morals from their religion. They were raised in religious households. That's where they got their their ideas, their desire to make the world better. And some of them have been secular, but I'm speaking for myself as a Palestinian, and the whole world saw that. Palestinians know how many Jewish people stood up for them.
Yeah, let's
Jewish people refused to.
let's take a moment to think about that. Let's take a moment to think about that. And I try to avoid making religious arguments when discussing the occupation of Palestine. But let's think about that for a second, where you have a bunch of Christians that tell Jewish people that they're anti-Semitic because they oppose Christians sending bombs to other extremist Jewish people who are bombing Muslims and Christians. Do you guys realize how crazy that is?
Yeah,
sorry,
absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
The thing that's incredible to me as a Jew, as a Jewish anti-Zionist, and I've been a Jewish anti-Zionist for 40, 50 years, is that these people, these right-wing nationalists, are completely anti-Semitic. They hate Jews. I mean, in reality, when I saw like all those people like lined up, you know, Bezos and Musk and all of them lined up together, it just reminded me, you know, of what had happened in the 30s, where at first people made fun of Hitler and the Nazis, and then they all joined up and profited, like made millions, you know, off of killing people. And, you know, I think what Tarek said is really true. I mean, I was raised in a secular household, but the ethos of what I was raised with was that you were supposed to be for justice. And that was what you were supposed to do as a Jew. And, you know, it's interesting to me because in my family, which was very, very Zionist, we had like screaming fights, you know, like many families. Now, you know, I see that my family, the most Zionists who sent their kids to Israel, went to school in Israel, that they're actually against the genocide, which completely shocked me, and against Israel, and called Netanyahu a Nazi, which is exactly what he was. And so I think that the other thing that I think that we have to remember is that we have to look to the like courage, hope, and leadership of the Palestinian people, and that they're the ones who have really like stood up and led and have been so incredibly brave in this period. And just like I can't even think about what Park or what the other members of our class who have, or friends who have lost so many family, like what that has meant. And you know, they always go, oh well, people didn't know, you know, during the Holocaust, but people know now. It's right in front of us, and yet see that it's happening, and it's happening there. It's happening as Congo and Sudan, and so we have to figure out how to stop this. We can't live in a world like this.
And I think this is one of the ways to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Joining together.
Yeah.
And taking this kind of action. This is the only way, actually, we as people can stop it. And the broader that coalition is, and it's building and building, the better chance we have to stop it. That headline, Nick, should say, President Trump takes unprecedented action to support Zionism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think us joining together, you anti-Semitic, most of the Jews in Israel aren't Semitic to begin with. They come from Europe and other places.
They're Polish.
yeah. They don't even come. They're not Semitic. But I'm not. It's Zionism, and Zionism, like Merck said, Zionists, real Jews that follow their religion or follow their belief system are anti-Zionism. That's what they're anti-Zionist.
Yes. Yes, and they are called, and I remember Bernie Sanders being one of them. They was called fake fucking Jews by Christians. There will be Christians that will call them fake Jews.
And you know,
go ahead. Yeah.
The main reason why these so-called Christians, because they're not real Christians either, evangelical Christians and stuff, they don't like Jews, like Mark said. What they want is they want the second coming. They want that area destroyed. That's what they want. They want all the people destroyed so that Christ can come back and raise them up to heaven. That's what evangelical stuff is about.
Yeah.
And
Such
I want to bring
bullshit.
this in. Go ahead, Terry. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, Tark.
despite everything you hear, despite the efforts of the Israeli government, the establishment, the U.S. establishment, the Palestinian issue has nothing to do with religion.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with religion. There's a reason the Israeli government from the very beginning used religious iconography, religious symbols in their state, whether it's political, government, military. They use the religious symbols to make it appear that it is religious, and to maybe try to provoke a reaction against Jews, against Judaism, when it's not related.
Yeah, that's very well said. And just like Malcolm X said, there's no legal, intellectual, or moral basis behind Zionism. So isn't it interesting how we can dismantle Zionism in so many different ways? You can dismantle Zionism using religion if you want to. It's just not necessary, because legally Zionism has already been rebuked by the UN, by multiple international scholars. Morally, it's obvious. You don't have the right to steal people's land, you psychopaths. Intellectually, they're brain dead. And one thing I want to say, and I'll pass it back to Penel and Jaybe, whoever wants to respond, because Judith, I believe, made a great point when she mentioned how centrists in Europe eventually sided with Hitler. Because now liberals are now calling Donald Trump Hitler, and that now they're discovering their sympathy of the Palestinians. But it's very important to understand how liberalism enables and is a branch of fascism. Because why is Donald Trump doing what he's doing now? Who gave him the precedent to do what he's doing now?
The DNC did. The DNC did.
Yeah. And I would love to get your guys' thoughts. I know you got a lot to say here. But here's the headline for people who's not reading. The Biden administration says it can revoke visas of quote-unquote Hamas supporters as Republicans urge actions. And now these same liberals are saying, oh my God, don't you know that Donald Trump wants to revoke visas? That's a precedent that Joe Biden set. You guys see how the game works? But go for a chime in if you guys have anything to say.
I just wanted to add, Nick, you quoted Malcolm X, and that really that's clear. As Taxpayers Against Genocide, we're very much inspired by Malcolm X's thought and activism, and we have like 5 core principles. And then anybody in the country that wants to organize as taxpayers, but our core principles were against colonialism and genocide, and Zionism is a form of colonialism, but any colonialism, including right here on occupied land in North America and stolen land, we're not. So people say, oh, you're picking on Israel. No, it's our tax dollars, and anywhere our tax dollars are being used against our consent to exterminate other human beings and to plunder, we're establishing a movement to stand up to that directly. And our eyes are wide open about the court system. We know that this court system is what it is, but we are fighting to win. We do think we have a legally correct argument. And if it gets tossed out and at this level of court, we're taking it international. We're going to demand prosecution of these officials internationally, right? And it's really about building that kind of mass anti-colonial movement for liberation.
I would say also that don't forget that, this money that goes to Israel, it comes back in the form of surveillance. Like the border is surveilled by Israeli Elbit technology. And I have to give a shout out to Palestine Action in Britain that's been on Elbit continuously. It's so great. But all the technology throughout the Americas and throughout the world is funded by us to go to Israeli companies and Israeli technology. So we're not just talking about colonialism in Palestine, which of course they've tested everything on the Palestinians, but then they come back and use it here too.
In the training of police departments,
yeah, training
like
police
Cop City.
departments all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're really evil. They're evil.
I agree. James?
Well, what I saw really clearly, because I've been organizing communities around justice, our communities around justice issues for at least 50 years. As soon as I heard about from Seth what they were trying to do in Sonoma County to hold Thompson, their congressperson, liable for misusing their tax dollars illegally, doing it. As soon as I read that, I said, oh my God, yes, this is perfect. This is perfect. This is the way to build the resistance, because, you know, it doesn't matter what what reason you came into this movement. It can grow and grow and grow, because we want our everybody wants taxpayer money to support their communities and not to kill other people. Number one, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a farmer or you're a waste hauler or whatever you are. If you pay taxes, you want it to go to something positive. So this movement can grow and grow, and it is real fast, and have a big tent that brings everybody in, and that's how we win on all the issues. People, just people standing together, everybody.
Thank you very much for that. One of the things that I want to ask first is in response to your lawsuit that you're going against elected officials. I'm going to share my screen really quick, because I really want to make sure that everybody gets the education about what is possible against genocide, for what the U.S. is doing. But I just want to read this. It says, the Leahy Law is a U.S. law that prohibits the U.S. government from providing military assistance to foreign security forces that commit human rights violations. This law is named after Senator Patrick Leahy, who sponsored the original appropriations provisions in the 1990s. It says U.S. government vets potential recipients of assistance for credible information about human rights violation. If credible information is found, the U.S. will not provide assistance until the host country takes action to bring the responsible people to justice. The law applies to both the Department of State and the Department of Defense. Now, my question is the Leahy Law being incorporated in this lawsuit? And if so, can this lawsuit also be kind of transformed into a citizen ballot initiative to be pushed to other states so that it is done through direct democracy, circumventing the power of the Democratic and Republican parties?
That's a beautiful idea.
That's so powerful. Thank you so much for saying that. Seth, you're great at addressing this issue. Well,
the Leahy Law is in the lawsuit, and we would be happy to share with you. I don't know if you can post on your social media, but the actual complaint is really powerful. And again, it represents these 18 counties and naming defendants from Nancy Pelosi on down the line. But we do talk about the Leahy Law, absolutely. And Patrick Leahy, as you mentioned, who helped start that law, he's come out publicly and said the law is not being applied when it comes to U.S. military assistance to the IDF. So he's saying that you're violating the law I helped create. So that's part of it. And I think even though if the law didn't exist, just the fact that Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution establishes that any treaty that's been ratified becomes, quote unquote, the supreme law of the land. And when Merck brought up that they ratified the Genocide Convention, it was like 40 years after the fact. They ratified in 1988. They had exemptions, but they didn't exempt themselves from Article 3, which prohibits complicity in genocide. And when they did that vote on April 20th, last April 20th in the House and April 23rd in the Senate to appropriate that $26.38 billion, by then the evidence of genocide was overwhelming. And these officials They had been warned in a very respectful manner by their constituents. Like I said, I've been a high school teacher for a long time. Some of the students at my school met face to face with Congressman Mike Thompson and said, "Don't do this. This is in January." They were seeing the destruction of schools, the murder of Palestinian children and students, their peers. They said, "Do not send our parents' tax dollars over there." And yet they did. And in doing so, they clearly crossed the line to violate that fundamental treaty law. And so that's part of what we're fighting for. And again, we'll see how the federal courts respond, but we do feel we have a legally correct argument.
The other thing I want to mention, when we amended the complaint and added the additional counties, so we're covering all the way from, well, if you don't know California, but a good half of the coast of California, all the way up to the coast of Oregon that our lawsuit covers. We also added the Secretary of Defense at the time, and we added the law itself, that appropriations bill. That made it possible to do that. We added those two, and we added our senators because we have I think 3 in our district. Is it 3 Congress people that voted against the appropriation, Scott, Seth, or is it 4?
Well, the House reps,
4.
we have at least 4.
Yeah.
And then the two senators for all of California at the time, Padilla and Butler, they were the senators.
So that bill, that appropriations bill itself was illegal. So that's why we go and the Secretary of Defense was responsible for allocating it. So we go after the bill, the law itself. We go after the Secretary of Defense, our 2 senators, and all the Congress people in our districts that voted for it.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much. I have another question. This is more of an opinion based, but one of my questions is. Recently, it was confirmed that Senator Marco Rubio was confirmed to be the new Secretary of State, replacing Antony Blinken for that spot as Secretary of State. Now, one of the people who has been, I'd say, one of the biggest proponents against funds being sent to Israel, though, I mean, his support for resisting funds to Israel, to me, has been tenuous at best. But what are your thoughts on Senator Sanders voting to confirm Senator Marco Rubio, despite his reservations about sending funds to Israel?
I'll say quickly, because I don't want to taste the time. That goes to what Nick was talking about, the duplicity of the two Republican and Democrats. I mean, you can't count on them for anything. They voted for Marco Rubio. They voted for Cruz. Look at who they're voting for. Look at who they're putting into office in all these key positions. The Democrats and the Republicans they're 2 wings of the same bird. That's it. That's it. They belong together. They one talks a little bit differently, but look at what Clinton did with the crime bill and all. You just name one. I mean, Biden, one thing after another. That the Democrats actually make worse things happen. They're the ones that passed NAFTA. They're the ones that passed the crime bill. They're the ones they put some sugar coating on it, or people think because it's done by the Democrats, it's better. It's not. They're always looking after their corporate chills. I'm sorry, I'm getting upset. I'll stop.
That's very well said. Remember, guys, this and I'll pass right to you, Terry. I think you want to chime in. But remember, it's Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries that are working with Donald Trump to push censorship bills. Isn't it strange how they're working with someone who they call the modern day Hitler? Isn't that interesting? Go ahead, Terry.
They were called, this is an existential threat, but now they're all working together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's very little difference between the 2 parties. I've heard on your show you talking about that there's a lot more similarity than there is difference. The whole system, the political parties, the big political parties, the whole government is set up to keep itself, to support itself. to hold them up. You know, they both work to hold each other up.
Yeah.
They're not the opposite at all. They're supporting each other.
Exactly, Tarek. We all see that. Anybody that has their eyes open, that has fought for justice in any way, shape, or form, understands that. The Democrats aren't our friends. They get things pushed through easier because the damn liberals think they're doing something good.
Yep. John Fetterman was cheering on
Maria, I think, was
attacking the ICC, and now Democrats want John Fetterman to be president.
Yeah.
They want John Shapiro to be president. To show you guys how much they really oppose Trumpism, by the way. But I think Seth, I think you was about to say something.
No, I thought maybe Maria was, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
I thought I heard somebody. But anyone have any? Go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think one of the most unifying issues this year in the last 16 months has been the full-throated support of anti-Palestinian racism. And I think that has been a bipartisan joint effort. And so, regardless of which party is in power, we continue to see and have seen for 75 years the anti-Palestinian racism specifically that has allowed Israel to not just exist, but to gain power in the region as a sort of a settler colony of the United States. And the deeply rooted and deeply held narrative of anti-Palestinian racism in the United States has allowed a live stream genocide to happen. And like I said, it's been a bipartisan effort over the years to uphold the settler colonial state of Israel, but it's been unconstitutional as well. It has been against the law. The U.S. on either side, no matter who's in charge, has really made the Israeli exception for a lot of these laws, like the Leahy Act, et cetera. And all because of the deeply held ideology of anti-Palestinian racism that makes this all possible.
Yeah, that's why I told in Ro Khanna why Democrats are irredeemable. Because if you're truly anti-racist, you must oppose the Democratic Party, which is drenched in Palestinian racism. And I explained this to Ro Khanna, and this is a theoretical question I ask to liberals all the time. You guys saw it live with Ro Khanna, where I asked them, will you vote for an anti-gay bigot? Like, would you vote for someone who had the F word all over their timeline and who was open about implementing anti-gay policies? Because the Democratic Party is so anti-Palestinian that they had a group of Palestinians at the DNC that was willing to endorse the genocide. And even though they was willing to endorse the genocide of their own people, they still wasn't allowed to give a speech.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's insane level of racism.
They had to camp out.
Yeah, and that probably helped cost them the election.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that
it did.
I mean, on the other side, I think we should acknowledge that this period has broken the back of Zionism in a very definite way. And of course, led by the Palestinian people, but also all the protests that has happened around the world, that people cannot look at Zionism and cannot look at the state of Israel the way they did even 2 or 3 years ago.
I so agree with you.
That shows the power. A lot of times people think no matter what we do, it doesn't matter, nothing changes. But that's actually a really good example of how it does. And then that resistance produces repression. We know, I'm in the National Lawyers Guild, we know what's coming. But it also produces resistance. And that's what we have to keep in our minds all the time.
And I want to add that, if it's okay, I just want to add that, like, at the end of the day, our core principles, like I mentioned, the 5 principles, really comes down to the most basic respect for human rights of everybody, period. Like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I remember that was part of Malcolm X, going back to Malcolm X, a big push to say it's about human rights, not just civil rights, and to put the U.S. on trial, right? And we're ordinary folks from many different backgrounds, Palestinian, Jewish, teachers. A lot of our people are healthcare workers. Some of our plaintiffs, They have had direct losses. Like one plaintiff, he's Palestinian, he lost 211 family members have been murdered in the past year. But at the end of the day, what brings us together is these basic principles of human rights. It's not, I mean, I guess it could be viewed as radical, but it's so core and so fundamental. And in saying we are united in pushing this. And if and when the U.S. courts shut us down, I mean, again, we think we got a correct argument. We're fighting to win. But if the courts do what the courts often do, then we will keep moving on to that international level as part of building that mass movement. You know?
It's important to remember that, and this is to Judith's point as well, that the Zionists are losing. It pre-October 7th, and I know because I covered this for years, the idea of a Palestinian state was dead. It was completely off the table and it was unfeasible. Now you have the majority of the international community that openly supports a Palestinian state. We have Zionists in Congress for the first time that said we need to establish a Palestinian state in response to the genocide. And Israel tourism is dead. Boycotts of Israeli businesses as an all-time high. The Israeli settler colonial project is in shambles. So this is to Judith's point. Don't make it think that we haven't accomplished anything. Zionism paid a heavy toll. Palestinians did as well. Don't get me wrong. But the Zionist project paid a heavy toll for this. But Sabby, I think you had something to share. Sabby, anything you want to add to the conversation?
I was just going to say there was a video recently that Afidi made. It was a short video on Twitter, and she brought up a really good point about the Biden-Harris administration choosing not to go in the opposite direction with this genocide, choosing, like, for example, when Kamala decided that she would not do anything different than Joe Biden, I think we all remember that, right? And she said she would not withhold weapons to Israel. That basically sounded the alarm that anything can be done and it's no big deal. So when you see Donald Trump get into office and he's making all of these executive orders, whether we agree with any or not, Donald Trump is able to come in and do that and not receive as much pushback, because if you could not say no to genocide, if you couldn't acknowledge that Palestinian detainees were being sexually assaulted, but you called out the October 7th supposedly sexual assault from Hamas, which actually has been proven that there's no evidence about that. And they've come out with more information about that now. You ran with that narrative, but you ignored actual evidence of Palestinians being sexually assaulted, and you defended Israel and gave more support and said, my priority is with them. What do you expect to happen afterwards? Because the crimes of the empire always come back home. So we saw this before. Well, we weren't old enough to see it, but some of you were. The Vietnam War, similar situation. This is what MLK was talking about when he said the women and the children that they're killing in Vietnam, these crimes come back home to the United States. So what do people expect to happen? This is why I continue to say foreign policy and domestic policy is connected. So if you're complaining about what's happening with the police, if you're complaining about cop cities, you need to know this is all still connected to the IDF, to Israel, to all the things that have happened abroad. It always comes back home. So if you couldn't say no to a genocide, and you couldn't even say the word genocide, what the hell did you expect the other administration coming in to do? What did you expect them? This is very important for people to really understand. The Democratic Party should have taken the moral position on this, and they did not. They chose not to. Most of the deaths happened under them. Kamala Harris coming in instead of Joe Biden, that was her opportunity to change the tide. So when you give a nod to genocide, that lets the other administration know that they can do whatever they want.
They got the Democrat support. Sabina, that's so strong and so right on. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Kamala couldn't even lie. We was actually in a very dangerous position after Biden dropped out, because all Kamala Harris had to do was lie at that point. All she had to do was say, oh no, I feel like what Israel did is horrible. I'm going to stop. Guys, you understand that the Democratic Party is so owned that they was willing to throw an election instead of allowing the Overton window to shift towards an arms embargo. Kamala Harris couldn't cross her AIPAC and her husband, even if it cost her the election. You guys understand how strong the lobby influence is?
Yeah.
But I think James, you want to chime in. Go ahead, James. I think I saw you want to chime in.
Well, just to add to your all point, especially Nick and Sabby, I wanted to add to your point. Of course, this issue with Taxpayers Against Genocide is really first against the genocide, but this also really has a secondary point that Israel is being cared for more than American people.
Right.
And so we're sicker, we're less educated, we're more housing insecure, and we're less safe around the world because the United States rather would treat Israel like a doll on a pedestal and leave us out on the curb. And so when it comes to when you're frustrated about your rent, when you're frustrated about your job not paying you a living wage, when you're frustrated about your kids not being able to afford college or trade school, all of these different things, and then you look at pampered Israel, I'm going to say it, I don't care who gets mad at me, at pampered Israel, for them being able to have free healthcare, free college, and then people get to have dual citizenship and all this other crazy stuff, and then yet you got people that are laying out in the street. You have veterans who actually fought for this country that are out in the street. And on top of that, you have Black people, freedmen like us, that are homeless, that haven't got a damn reparations bill at all whatsoever.
Right.
Which is also an issue of regards to our labor, right? All these different things. And then on top of that, then you have Trump doing all these things for Israel. Here, let me make this very, very clear. Anybody that's a Trump supporter, you got screwed, you got played, you got run amok, you got bamboozled because you chose an Israel first candidate. You chose somebody that's just like Kamala Harris. The only difference is he's orange and he got a comb over. So that's the crazy part. A lot of people really got to realize is that you're being played by both parties. And this is one of the reasons why we talk to people about supporting independent media, support organizations that are really on the ground, people like Taxpayers Against Genocide, because we really it's us. It's not going to be the politicians out there. It's going to be what saves us. Go ahead, please.
Is it possible, James, to throw in? I know we're running low on time, but just to your listeners, your viewers, if they'd like to get in touch with us, we're a very simple way. It's class action against genocide at proton.me. And we class action against genocide at proton.me. And we would welcome the dialogue with people all across the country. And I would just add to the last point you were making that it's also the military industrial complex, right? Over half of all of our discretionary tax dollars is going into this war machine, the number one polluter on the planet. And we can find, as Maria often says, in our own county, in Sonoma County, a company called General Dynamics, where they help make the inputs for the 2,000-pound bombs that have been used in Gaza, right? The guidance devices. And that's our tax dollars going into to line these companies that deliver death. And it is, like Dr. King said, the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is the U.S. government. And we have to stand up against that banality of evil and say, as ordinary people, as taxpayers, basta ya, game up.
It's been so wonderful to share thoughts with you people. I'm just so grateful because, and it's one of the ways I'm grateful about technology. I hate it in a lot of ways, but I love it for this reason. I feel you on that. I just love it for this reason. I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great what you guys are doing, and it's great to elevate such aspiring action like what your group is doing. So we definitely appreciate you guys for joining. James, I saw you on mute. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah. I was just saying, want to thank you all for joining. I appreciate you guys, your powerful voices, and we're just trying to amplify whoever we can. So, we're very grateful and honored to have you guys on. Appreciate it.
Just understand you guys must understand how brave this is, because the Zionists, they play for keeps. You know what I mean? They play for keeps. And when you put your name out there as challenging Zionism, there's a reason why so many weak beta male cucks don't do it. There's a reason why Russell Brand doesn't do it. There's a reason why all these right-wing fucking masculine they're afraid to criticize Zionism because they know who their true masters are. So it's actually very intimidating to do it.
You know, we say, bring it on. Bring it on. We stand for truth and justice and for the people, all of us.
The people standing against Zionism in this country are the bravest among us. So thank you guys for joining. Any last thoughts you guys have?
I just want to invite your listeners and viewers to check us out on our Linktree and just see how you can bring this. I saw some folks in the chat asking how come this is only in California. That's only because it's only in California yet. So check us out, and please follow up with us and find out how you can also take this and use it in your communities as a way to bring justice and to halt weapons in the future.
We're going national, people. We had a webinar last weekend, had 40 states, over 500 people in 40 states plug in to find out how they could do this in their communities.
Or join us join us when we go to the international, because that's really where we're going to find justice, if we find it, is in the international courts. We know that.
And this lawsuit, it's about how the money is spent. It's about the illegal ways using the money to kill people, to exterminate, to erase a culture, a history. But it's also what the money is not spent on. I feed children for a living, and I know what's missing. I see it every day. We all see it every day. The homelessness, the education, the terrible state of education we're in. It's not because we're stupid or the kids don't learn. It's because of the resources are not there. And why are they not there? Because they're going to kill people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You said it, Tarek. Yeah. We are. Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you. And get in touch with us. We're going to take this nationwide. We already started, and we're not giving up. We're going to take it on. We're going to take it on in every way, shape, and form.
All right. Thank you so very much, Taxpayers Against Genocide. We will see you very soon, and we can't wait to hear back.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you guys do. Thank you.
Appreciate your work. Seriously. You guys are well regarded out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, keep up the good work yourselves. It's great to be in community with you guys. It's an honor. Thank you guys.
And happy birthday, Nick.
We love you. We love you.
And I want to give big shout out to everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't acknowledge everyone. I guess I'll put your comments quickly on the screen, all the birthday wishes. I definitely appreciate it. I'm gonna head out here soon. I'm already running a little bit late, so I'm gonna be getting headed out as we put our panel.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank everyone for the birthday wishes. We got banger shows coming up soon, so keep an eye out for it. So I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one, guys.
Okay. All right. Take care, Nick.
Bye.
All right. Take care, everybody.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right. And then there were two. Uh-oh. What's going to happen now?
And that's an awesome initiative. And I do want to make sure I give a shout out to Roger Meadows for putting Zoya in contact with them as well. Because I keep hearing people say the same thing. Like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Like, there are things that are happening. I just think more people need to know about it.
Absolutely. And one thing I am going to call to action with our viewers is, could you take what they're doing and apply it in your state? Number one, as a lawsuit. Number two, could you transfer it from being a lawsuit to a ballot initiative in your state to make it illegal for states municipalities and institutions to donate to countries that are committing genocide and ethnic cleansing.
Right. And one thing I want to bring up as well, I mean, that's a really good point, because that's like a next step, taking it a step further as well. But one thing, you know, I said this a couple of nights ago, was like, maybe we've been kind of going about some of these things the wrong way. Maybe what we should be doing is suing these people. Like, whether it's suing like the Congress members, suing the government, et cetera, like, you know, suing these healthcare companies. Like, maybe that's because it seems like the only thing they understand is money.
Yeah.
So,
as well as the medical associations, like the American Medical Association, American Pediatrics Association, all these different ones where the doctors have been completely quiet for the most part against what's been going on in genocide. You know, we should speak out about this too.
yeah. And I just want people to, again, I just want to add that as well. Like, don't forget about Luigi Mangione, because I know a lot of things have happened since then, and you're not hearing that case discussed as much anymore. But don't forget about that. I mean, again, at the end of the day, I think we need to start, maybe have class action lawsuits against these healthcare companies as well. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe this is the right way, what T.A.G is doing. Maybe this was the right answer all along, because we've done, you know, protesting for like over a year and that type of thing. We've kind of like hoped that the rulings from the ICC or the ICJ would go further but then we get stopped there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like the one avenue that hasn't been explored is a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, look, I'm gonna put it like this, and pardon me for saying it this way, but this is the best way I can get it out there so people remember it. Keep Luigi's name in your effing mouth. See?
I think the trial starts in February. I think.
Yeah. Mid-February, I think. Yeah. So, you know, I think that this is the right idea. This is the peaceful way, you know, that we can go until we have no other recourse left. We're winding down all the steps. And so if you guys can do this, you know, get together with your friends and do this and while doing mutual aid, hey, that's what we can do.
Yeah, reach out to T.A.G. They gave the info. Reach out to T.A.G. and see how, and you can start a chapter where you live and getting people together as well, because they want to make this a nationwide thing, you know?
Yeah.
So they already got the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that being said, one of the things that I want to do is just want to give a shout out to the patrons on Patreon while we're here. And just want to thank you guys for being able to, you know, donate and, you know, make sure this channel continues to keep going so we can have people like, you know, Taxpayers Against Genocide joining us. So that's why I think it is important for us to, you know, have this continuously, you know, we can continue to have guests like this. Sometimes our guests are going to be people who you don't know. But that's the benefit of it, because it's people that you don't know that you need to know. And it's people who are doing the work on the ground that may not be very famous, but they're doing important work. And these voices need to be amplified, right? Just like, for instance, Nick will have them on, Sabby will have them on her own channel, right? Make sure you subscribe to Sabby's channel. And, you know, a lot of times this is why we do what we do, because look, this is what we say. We black out corporate propaganda. This is exactly what it's about. And so we just want to thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts for continuing to allow us to be able to do this work, because we wouldn't be able to do it without you. It'd be extremely difficult, you know, for us. So you guys make this possible. Thank you. And the list goes on. Now, just one more thing before. Well, actually, let me get to the super chats first, right? I checked the Rumble to see if we have any Rumble rants. None right now, but that could change. Let's go to Denise. Denise says it has become a channel member. Thank you very much. Clap it up for Denise. Thank you so very much. We have Janice coming in saying, happy birthday, Nick. May your next year be filled with joy, good health, friends, and prosperity. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so very much for this super chat. Martin R says, happy birthday. Happy birthday. All right. Roger Meadow says, I hope you like my birthday present to you, Nick. It was a good birthday present, Roger. Roger is the gift that keeps on giving. CEB Applejack says, shout out to Jaybe. Happy birthday to Nick. Salute Sabby. Yes. Sabby is our general. You should salute her. Arrow says the Zionists stopped the Russians from attending the 80th Remembrance Day of the liberation of Auschwitz. That's sad because it was really the Soviets that actually gave us the primary victory over the Nazis. And so to lock it out. Go ahead, Seth. I'm sorry.
They'll try to rewrite that history too.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Emperor Penguin became a YouTube member. Thank you so very much. Clap it up for Emperor Penguin. Thank you so very much. I would like to highlight this one. This is from Eric T. Red. Says, I think we're going to need millions of people literally in the streets to get real change. You're right. And this is one of the ways how we do it is by informing people like on independent media like this, and then also driving people out into the streets, getting together with your neighbors to do it. Please, continue to do that. Zoe says class action against American social media platforms that infringe upon our First Amendment rights. Oh, okay.
That's an interesting one. I didn't think about that, Zoe.
I mean, could be some class action against particular platforms too that like to throttle certain channels. Okay.
I think
me too. Tabitha says, please consider working with Industry Resistors Network, War Tax Resistance, out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Veterans for Peace. Thank you, fam. Never heard of them, but sounds very interesting. War Industry Registers Network. Okay. Thank you very much. Let me see. And then I wanted to do, all right. So I'm just checking to see if we have any more super chats before I move on. Okay. No, I think we got them all. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to do also is, while we have time, is that I am trying to go to Seattle for the Worker Strike Back Organizing Conference. And so far, we've actually gotten, I think, close to halfway our goal. I haven't checked it today, so this will be my first time checking it today. But thank you so very much to everybody who's donated so far. Oh, we are past our halfway goal. Okay, so we're over halfway there, living on a prayer. Sorry, I had to. But I am trying to go to the organizing conference for Worker Strike Back. I was personally invited by Shama Sawant and Dr. Jill Stein. So if you would like to assist me getting there so that I can push for organizing for the working class, I deeply appreciate it if you guys would like to see me there. And I'm going to try to do some content while I'm there to interview people while I'm there so that, we can talk about these important issues. One of the things that I want to push especially is worker cooperatives, because that's one of the ways that we're going to really change this country is through workers actually owning the corporations as well. Yes, absolutely. So if you guys would like to, you guys can, either share the link, or if you guys would like to donate, I deeply appreciate it. By the way, if you guys do donate, then I will also give you a shout out on Twitter because I'm grateful. So thank you very much for that. So I'm just sharing this into the chats. All right. And with that being said, also, yes, And yes, Eric and Corey will be on my show next Tuesday to talk about 11 demands. Absolutely. You need to demand, right? Get those demands, baby. And if you guys want to go to my channel to be able to see it, it's linked in the description. Go ahead. But, I think this is important. We got to talk about what we demand as a people. So, Sabs, what you got going on tonight?
Just covering the news. No guests tonight. I have 5 news stories we're going to get into. We're definitely going to talk about the plane crash that happened last night. That's one of the stories, but quite a bit to discuss.
Yeah. Also, there was apparently something happened in the West Bank while they were exchanging hostages as well. Israel's up to some BS, man. And even when hostages are trying to exchange, Israel just can't stop. They're too trigger happy, and it's sick, to be honest with you. I saw that earlier today. So there's a lot going on. I hope you talk about RFK Jr.
I am.
Oh,
I got some things to debunk there. But yeah, of course, like this is just.
I wish I could join you for that, but you know what? I don't need my blood pressure to go up anymore. So, but yes. Okay. With that being said, I think we're good to go. Let me check the Rockfin just one more time, just to make sure we're. Oh, no. We got some Rockfin chat in the chat. Okay. Roger said, "Hold up, wait a minute. Let me put some boom in it."
I have to head out, JB. I got to take a call. But
okay.
Bye.
All right. Okay, Sabs. I'll see you later. All right. Let's go to the Rockfin chat and then we can head on out. All right. Thank you, Roger. He says, now it's coming to full focus, Sab. If you can get them to spend tax dollars, government money on us, then you can get it by suing the crap out of them. 2023 Main Ballot Initiative approved prohibiting foreign money from influencing elections. I say extend that to who they send to Congress and U.S. Senate. Just like last year's Citizen Ballot Initiative amendment in North Dakota put age limit on those they send to Congress and U.S. Senate. Make them bring it to Supreme Court to see if we can regulate U.S. government from the states. Got it. Yep. Thank you so very much, Roger. Got that done. All right. Yep. All right, everybody. Just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you so very much for Taxpayers Against Genocide. You guys have been great. Appreciate it. And look, we're going to continue to follow them and keep in touch so that we can inform you guys about what they're doing, because this is very important work, because we got to work against genocide, and we also have to work to make sure that we are taken care of as Americans instead of money being sent to genocidal maniacs that want to put in an ethno state. So that's what we got to do. Okay. So thank you so very much to everybody for tuning in. You guys have been wonderful. You guys have been sweet. You guys have been great. You guys have been chatty, which we love. Also, let us know in the comments what you think, especially about what the actions they're doing and what type of actions could you take personally in your state, and let us know what state you're in as well too, so we can know who's who and where you are. So if you're from outside the country, let us know. Maybe you can also do the same thing in your own country too, with laws permitted. So thank you very much. Water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Do all the things. If you got more head kisses, because that's the kind of guy I am. Because you know you love that. And from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.